someone who can't see. I am totally blind. So I go through periods when I'm unable to sleep at night. And I feel like I'm constantly running, but can never quite catch up. But this isn't a sleep problem. It's something called non-24-hour disorder. Learn more about non-24 by calling 855-856-2424 or visiting learnmorenon24.com.
This is Charles Osgood. Go down the pain relief aisle, and you'll see there are a lot of pain relievers out there, but there's a powerful one you may not have heard of, Salonpas Jet Spray. Salonpas Jet Spray is a clear, fast-drying, pain-relieving spray perfect for sore muscles or joints. It has 2 active ingredients that give it the strength to work for up to 8 full hours. Look for the blue bottle with the blue cap and spray your way to relief. Salonpas, powerful relief when and where you need it. Available at Walmart.
Fink's Car Care, with locations in Chesapeake and Portsmouth, is your dedicated Tire Stars dealer. At Fink's, their experienced staff specializes in brakes, steering, suspension, tune-ups, oil changes, and much more. They also handle rebuilt engines and transmissions, and they're your destination for tires, rims, and towing as well. Fink's is located at 2236 South Military Highway at 2711 Victory Boulevard. For more information, log on to finkscarcare.com or call 545-3573.
Chesapeake, Virginia, 1650 AM WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick and at GJBTV.com. Now here is Greg Bickaveris.
And thank you very much, Ken Johnson. Glad you're with us right here on this February 19th, 2014. Finally, some good weather, sunshine in Hampton Roads. Hope everybody is safe and having a good week so far. Hump Day right here in Hampton Roads. All this presented by the Egg Bistro. Don't forget, Sports Scene is an interview show. We do it each Wednesday from 12 to 1, just like I do a show called Sports Highlights in Newport News, a TV program. For more, log on to nnpstv.com. This is your home for CBS News. Glenn Beck, Laura Ingram, and the Admirals. Tell your friends about 1650. Find them on Facebook and on Twitter as well. Right here, Twitter at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV. Those are my Twitter handles. My company is GJBTV.com. Thank you to the military, like always. Our guest lineup today, impressive like always. I was at the Pitt, North Carolina game this past Saturday with our last guest last week, Ian Eagle, and we met Bill Hillgrove, the voice of the Pitt Panthers, also the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's right, folks. The Pittsburgh Steelers right here. So he'll come on just a little bit later, talk about the Mike Tomlin connection. Of course, he's from Newport News, went to William & Mary, and the Pitt Panthers played Old Dominion this past year in football as well. There, of course, in the ACC. Of course, great weather today. Don't forget, support our marketplace sponsors on GJBTV.com. Find archive shows by going on there. Surf GJBTV.com as well. Go to the YouTube link for archive shows of Sports Scene and other places as well. All kinds of good stuff coming up. My mom's memorial tennis match as well coming up sometime later this spring as well. Don't forget, we have a big interview coming up on Collegiate Sports Focus on Channel 13 with Dr. Wood Seelig, Karen Barefoot, and Mitch Brindley, all of Old Dominion. Look forward to that April 12th at 5:30 to 6 a.m. All right, guest lineup again today, Bill Hillgrove, Brian Parsons from Channel 10, and John Robinson in our business spotlight from Newcastle Coins and Collectibles. Beautiful weather. This is Sports Scene. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages. Your radio home for the Norfolk Admirals and AHL action in Hampton Roads is News Talk 1650 WHKT. For 25 years, the Admirals have been creating memorable moments in southeastern Virginia, and your place to hear all the hockey action on the ice is right here on 1650 AM.
The Norfolk Admirals take on Albany Saturday, 5 p.m. on K-Talk 1650.
Excellent Italian food is found at Spaghetti Eddie's, a neighborhood restaurant with a great family atmosphere and delicious Italian cuisine. Define Spaghetti Eddie's. New York-style pizza, pasta, subs, calzones, soups, salads will bring you back again and again. Log on to SpaghettiEddiesPizzaCafe.com and visit them at Greenbrier and Western Branch. Quality Italian food is at Spaghetti Eddie's.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet. Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
And welcome back right here to Sports Scene on News Talk 1650, your home for CBS Radio News in Hampton Roads. Greg Bicoveris along with Ken Johnson, live local right here on the radio. Also go to gjbtv.com. Also nationally and internationally, find the show on tunein.com. Type in WHKT 1650. My company is gjbtv.com. Well, it's a pleasure a lot of times working for CBS and Fox and also ESPN that you go on the road and see a lot of different great broadcasters and athletes. One of them is Bill Hillgrove, the longtime voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pittsburgh Panthers, an icon in the state of Pennsylvania. Welcome to Virginia, Bill.
Happy to be here.
Always
not happy with the recent loss to the Tar Heels, but you know this basketball team needs this week off. They need some emotional healing. They've lost a couple of tough ones, and I think some physical healing as well. So I think they're going to be fine.
I could see the relief in your eyes when you were wrapping up your post-game show, because I was there in person on Saturday, and you said, we have a nice 8-day break, from playing again. You had a look in your eyes like, wow, I'll take that break any day.
Well, I should have planned a trip to Florida, but I don't have that kind of common sense. So it's really necessary for this basketball team, though. Especially the emotional part. They need the break, and I think Jamie was going to give them a couple days off, and I think that's going to help them.
When you talk about Pittsburgh athletics, really, we'll start off with basketball since it's going on right now. And of course, Jamie Dixon been there for several years, making the transition from the Big East to the ACC. How's it been? Because a lot of the teams that you've played, like Miami and of course Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Boston College, they were already Big East teams already before.
Yeah, and I think, leopards don't change their spots. Jim Boeheim's always going to do what Jim Boeheim does. And when Rick Pitino comes in, he's not going to change anything to try to adapt to what is perceived to be a style of basketball. I think the biggest thing, and Dick Rhoda and I have talked about it, the biggest adjustment, I think, has been there are more people in the ACC that seem to want to drive to the basket. I think the Big East, by comparison, is more of a, pass the ball. And so, that's the only difference. And I may be all wet in that regard, but that's the only thing I see that's the difference.
And you look at basketball today, too, as we're talking to Bill Hillgrove, also the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers, right here on Sports Scene. Greg Bicoveris, glad you're with us till 1 o'clock. It seems like basketball in general, whether it's high school, college, or NBA, Bill, it seems like it's a 40-yard dash with the basketball trying to get to the hoop.
Yeah, well, that's where the high percentage is, and I think that's what coaches preach. And sometimes teams listen, and sometimes they don't. But the higher percentage shots should go in, and that's why I was amazed when I looked at the stats after the Pitt Carolina game that Talib Zana was 2 for 11. If a guard goes 2 for 11, you shrug your shoulders. But when your man in the 5-hole goes 2 for 11, that's not good.
Yeah, that was a special game, of course, for the Tar Heels. Of course, you guys got Florida State coming up, and you got a game on the 26th. You got Notre Dame on March 1st. 20-6, not a bad record at all. Only 5 games left. This season's flown by.
I think Pitt will be favored in all 5 of them, and if they play to form, they'll win them. But it won't be without a struggle. Clemson is a different team at home than they are on the road. First time those two teams played, it was a clinic that the Panthers put on. And for whatever reason, since the second half of the Maryland game, that sort of, make the extra pass, be selfless. I haven't seen that. And it culminated Saturday when Pitt was 10 assists on 26 baskets. That is not Jamie Dixon basketball.
It's It's a pleasure right now talking right now, too. Bill Hillgrove, longtime voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers, also the Pitt Panthers. We'll switch gears to the Steelers in just a few moments, of course. And Jamie Dixon, a lot of people know him here as well. Of course, played Georgetown several years, but he's had a lot of tragedy in his life, too, overcoming the loss of his sister. That was not easy.
Yeah. Yes, and of course the family has rallied around the Maggie Dixon Classic and the Maggie Dixon Foundation. And, I think that's what you have to do when you are beset with tragedy, is respond to it in a positive way. And they've raised a lot of funds, and Jamie's always behind whatever basketball efforts the foundation wants to come up with. And they've come up with some dandies at Madison Square Garden. So, I think that's a tribute to the Dixon family. They are great people.
And we saw her here. She came here several years ago when she was having her team in the NCAA tournament. I think she was coaching Army at the time, Bill. And she was just a beautiful girl. I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful person as well. Absolutely.
They are first-class people. Dad, Jim, we spent some time with him on the road when he can make it. They live in California, but he does come east and spend long periods of time following the team.
All right.
And he's got a great sense of humor, and you can see a lot of Jamie in him.
Absolutely. Of course, we're going to switch gears now to a little bit to Pitt football, then wrap it up with the Steelers, of course. You guys played Old Dominion from down here in Norfolk. That was a pretty good game. You only won 35-24, and Bobby Wilder's done a really good job going to Conference USA, but that was a pretty good game. And, of course, this year you're going to Virginia on the road, and, of course, you take on Virginia Tech both in October. But talk about that Old Dominion game. They weren't a bad team, were they?
No, they were very good, and they had a game plan. They stuck to it. They did what they do well, and it was one of those games that the Panthers had to do what they could to survive, and they did. You're going to see more of that. The evening up of the scholarships, and the fact that the just to name one school, the Nebraskas of this world can't recruit 4 and 5 deep like they used to. I think it's going to be good for college football, because kids that would sit on the shelf for a major power now want to play, and are playing at places like ODU.
Absolutely. Talking to Bill Hillgrove right here. This is Sports Scene on News Talk 1650. Glad you're with us on the radio, online, also at gjbtv.com and tunein.com. And, of course, you talk about Pitt, iconic coaches over the years. You've been part of this program since the 60s, going back to Jackie Sherrill, Johnny Majors, Fogue Fazio, Mike Godfrey, Paul Hackett, Dave Wanstatt. But it seems like since 2010 there's been a lot of change. I guess the Pitt administration is really hoping that Paul Chryst sticks around. They were 7-6 last year.
I think he's bringing it stability, and I think he's committed to staying here and getting the job done. Yeah, we went through a period, those poor kids that graduated last year had 4 different coaches now, albeit one for 2 weeks. But still, that's a lot of instability. And for young kids to respond the way they did and win their bowl game, I thought was very exemplary of them as character people, and also Paul Chryst. I think he did a tremendous job this year, and it's only going to get better. He's recruited 2 4-star offensive linemen. That seemed to be a strength at the end of the year, even though they were hit with 2 big injuries. They didn't have their starting left guard and left tackle for the last third of the season. But I think in the future that position is going to be really strong. They'll be able to run the ball, and I love his style that way. And the kid, Chad Boydick, from Cleveland, Tennessee, but with strong Western Pennsylvania ties, he's showed promise not only in the spring game, but also when Tommy went down in the bowl game. He came on and really played well. So I think the only issue they have at quarterback is depth, and I think that'll be addressed.
Let me ask you this, because you're also, like we mentioned, the voice of Pitt football, basketball, and the Steelers. Of course, during football season, especially in September and October, it's just pretty much football conflicts. But once you get to November, you're starting to get NFL, college football, and college basketball conflicts. Even you, Bill Hillgrove, can't be at 3 places at once. How do you do it?
Well, when they come up with cloning, we'll be able to work that out.
Yeah.
But I had one stretch in November right around Thanksgiving. I did 7 games in 8 days.
Wow.
I won't ever do that again, even if the schedule tells me I have to. And B, it's like hitting yourself in the head with a hammer. When you stop, it feels good.
Right.
And so after that 8-day stretch, the rest of it has seemed easy. And right now, coming down a stretch in basketball, I'm almost back to being a regular, normal human being. My wife remembers my first name.
Right. Do you get a chance to take a break after the ACC and the NCAA tournament? Do you get a chance to take a break?
I do. I have a place at Conneaut Lake, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and 40 minutes from my house, and it's a nice little respite and a good hideaway, and I really enjoy the place. So that's what I'll do for most of the off season. I don't play as much golf as I used to, so I'm not as good as I once thought I was, but it's still fun to play when I can. When the grandchildren come along, your whole time availability issue becomes a problem. And, it's natural. I'd rather spend time with the grandchildren than be out there cursing at a little white ball.
That's the final few moments with Bill Hillgrove right here, the voice of the Steelers. And, of course, the Steelers, always exceptional year after year, did not make the playoffs in 2013. What do you expect? 6 Super Bowls. You've been a part of a lot of them, 74, 75, 78, 79, 05, and 08. You were part of the 05 and 08 calls as well. What are your thoughts this year about Mike Tomlin? Hard to believe he's going into year number 8.
Yeah, the time has gone quickly, but I will tell you this. He never lost that team last year, even though they had the challenges and even though that defense wasn't as dominant as he was used to. 6-2, second half. If they made the playoffs, I don't think a lot of teams would have wanted to play them in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But it was not to be. But they'll just regroup and come back. And one thing the Steelers always seem to do well, they seem to handle free agency well. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to when it was instituted in 1993. Mm-hmm. You can count on one hand the number of mistakes that they've made in free agency. And I'm talking about long-term mistakes, not short-term. Everybody, Alan Faneca wants a big contract. He's only going to sign one more. If you can't afford him, he's going to belong to somebody else, which he did for a year or two with the Jets and the Cardinals. But, he was finished and retires as a Steeler. Mm-hmm. And, I think they're a model in that regard. They handle free agency as well as anybody, and I think one of the reasons is that they don't overpay anybody. And I think that's the secret.
Right. And they're also loyal to their players or loyal to you. Is that true that Mr. Rooney handpicked you to replace Mr. Fleming? Is that true?
I'm sorry?
Is that true that Mr. Rooney, the owner back then, when you got the job 20 years ago, handpicked you to become the play-by-play broadcaster out of respect to you and your career?
Yeah, I was under their nose when Jack Fleming retired, and Jack and I were buddies, and, out of respect, I wouldn't even consider going after the job, and I had a full plate. I had football and basketball. I was doing regular television for the local ABC outlet, and never gave it a second thought till one day the phone rang, and it's our sales manager, and he says, Mr. Rooney asked for your tape again. I said, really? What tape? Well, we used your tape to measure up against all the other tapes that were coming in, and he kept asking for yours, and, I think he likes you. And I go, uh-oh. I'm all of a sudden maybe a candidate for a job that I never applied for.
Yeah.
And then a couple of weeks went by, and Tom Donahoe, then the general manager, called me and said, Billy, we had a meeting last night. Things are looking good. Well, then the next phone call I get is from my general manager, who said, I got some good news and some bad news. Well, what's the good news? You're the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I said, what's the bad news? You said, you're going to take one hell of a pay cut from television to radio. But, it's more than been made up. And really, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Absolutely.
To be able to, do all these teams in my hometown that I grew up rooting for, and then the NFL provides a much bigger stage, and that has been rewarding as well. So it's been a good ride, and I keep knocking on wood and keep saying, when I feel a wall, I'll find a real job, but I haven't had to do it yet.
But you look at the state of Pennsylvania. I mean, Coach Paterno was at Penn State from 1950 to 2011, and Pittsburgh, the Steelers have only had 3 coaches, including Chuck Noll, and that's just unimpressive. I'm talking about since 1969. They had coaches before him, but 3 coaches since '69 for the Steelers, and only 3 head coaches for Penn State since 1966, and of course, 2 after Coach Paterno left. What is it about Pennsylvania and the consistency there?
Well, I guess people find their comfortable niche, and they don't have to look outside that. I think it's a great place to live. Mm-hmm. I'm spoiled when I go out west, and see all of that orange and all of that brown. I remember the Pennsylvania green, and it is a great place, scenery-wise, to be part of. Right. And also, I think in Pittsburgh, the people are basically friendly. It's a big little town, and I like that too. So there's a comfort zone there that maybe a lot of other places don't provide. And you mentioned the three coaches since Chuck Noll. There have only been three Steelers broadcasters. Before myself, it was Jack Fleming for 35 years, and before that, for more than 30 years, it was Joe Tucker.
Wow.
So, that, I think, is another indicator that the Rooney family is a very stable family, and they don't make hair-trigger decisions.
Now, I met Jack Fleming. It was a pleasure when I was a college student at George Mason. He was the voice of West Virginia, and I was working a TV game for George Washington, and it was really a pleasure to see, even him toward his later years, see an iconic broadcaster as well. And all right, final two questions. Our basketball team, again, 20-6. You got the 5 games left, ACC tournament coming up, and, of course, your game against Syracuse a few weeks ago was like a Big East game. I mean, that was the great 2-3 zone against Jamie's team, and I expect more of that here in March.
I would love the opportunity to play Syracuse one more time, because I think the third time would be a charm. Should have won this most recent meeting, could have won the first meeting, had we made a couple more layups and a couple more foul shots. But, there's a reason Syracuse is undefeated, and they've got that momentum going, and they've got that belief. And, boy, that's a tough thing to deny once a team gets that. So I think Pitt would relish the opportunity to see them one more time.
And the Steelers, last question with them, Roethlisberger, no spring chicken. He's been in the NFL since 2004. Of course, when you think of the Steelers, you always think of veterans like in the past with Bradshaw, Rocky Bleier, Mean Joe Green, and now it's Roethlisberger and the crew. They're not getting younger, of course, Bill, but I expect a lot more discipline from the team this year.
Well, they say that the great quarterbacks play their best ball after the age of 30, and I think you're seeing it with Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
He's in command. He's a coach on the field. He knows what he wants to do. I think what separates Ben from most other quarterbacks is the fact that even the great ones, if you get them in the pocket and disrupt their rhythm and get them out of their comfort zone, they become fairly average quarterbacks. I think if you disturb Ben in the pocket, you bring out his competitive grit, and he becomes better when you bump him around or move him out of the pocket. He's just so fiery in terms of competitiveness that he takes it the other direction. And I love him, and I wouldn't trade him for anybody.
Well, Bill, safe travels. Enjoy your final few days off before Sunday's big game, of course, with Pitt, of course, taking on Florida State. They lost a tough one the other night to North Carolina. Carolina's playing really well. And best wishes again for Pitt football, Pitt basketball, and the Steelers. And we'll talk to you a little bit later on during the spring or the summer.
Thank you very much, and looking forward to Greensboro.
Absolutely. A lot of fun. All right. Thank you so much right there.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Bill Hillgrove, longtime voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers and also the Pittsburgh Panthers in college football and college basketball in the ACC now, formerly in the Big East. Of course, they took on Old Dominion in college football last fall. Of course, the Steelers, what can you say? They probably have more fans next to the Redskins than any other team here in Hampton Roads. We'll see if Mike Tomlin can get it done in 2014. Stay tuned, and we'll take a break and be back after these messages.
Excellent Italian food is found at Spaghetti Eddie's, a neighborhood restaurant with a great family atmosphere and delicious Italian cuisine. Define Spaghetti Eddie's. New York-style pizza, pasta, subs, calzones, soups, salads will bring you back again and again. Log on to SpaghettiEddiesPizzaCafe.com and visit them at Greenbrier and Western Branch. Quality Italian food is at Spaghetti Eddie's.
Fink's Car Care is your place for all of your automotive needs. They handle state inspections, brakes, tune-ups, oil changes, transmission service, radiator repair. They have a wide variety of tires, and when it comes to your car, they do it all. Visit their 2 locations at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth and 2236 South Military Highway in Chesapeake. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573.
Attention gun enthusiasts, your complete store for guns is at 240 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Tom and the staff will assist you with tactical guns, custom AR builds, and they handle service and repair. Battlefield Guns and Ammo has specials, and they buy, sell, trade, consign, and do FFL transfers, and always look out for the military and the police. Log on to BattlefieldGunshop.com and call 410-7720. Open Monday through Saturday, this is your store for guns, ammo, and accessories. Battlefield Guns and Ammo in Chesapeake. Your radio home for the Norfolk Admirals and AHL action in Hampton Roads is News Talk 1650 WHKT. For 25 years, the Admirals have been creating memorable moments in southeastern Virginia, and your place to hear all the hockey action on the ice is right here on 1650 AM.
The Norfolk Admirals take on Albany Saturday, 5 p.m. on K-Talk 1650. Coming up on CBS News, then back with more of Sports Scene with Greg Beckenbauer, so stay tuned for that. We're looking for cloudy skies with rain diminishing. I haven't seen it start yet, but when it does, it'll diminish by the afternoon. Aren't we into the afternoon? 68 for the high. Feels like spring. Partly cloudy skies tonight, low of 39. Mostly cloudy tomorrow with a high of 58. More thunderstorms in the forecast for Friday with a high of 66 degrees. CBS News is next on K-Talk 1650, 1231.
CBS News Update. I'm Steve Kathan. It's mostly quiet in Kiev a day after an explosion of violence. 25 people died in clashes between police and anti-government protesters yesterday. Earlier, a group of people did seize the city's central post office. CBS's Holly Williams in the Ukrainian capital says protesters are intent on holding their ground.
Many people here are angry with the government about corruption, and they say that the Ukraine's leaders are becoming increasingly dictatorial.
I'm Peter Mayer in Toluca, Mexico. The trouble in Ukraine is suddenly emerging as an issue at President Obama's meetings here with the leaders of Mexico and Canada. White House Foreign Policy Advisor Ben Rhodes says the violence is outrageous. Aboard Air Force One, he said the U.S. is consulting with European allies about possible sanctions on Ukraine, while urging Russia to help ease the tensions in Kiev.
Ukraine's top security agency accused protesters of seizing hundreds of guns from its offices and announced an operation to restore order. CBS News Update. I'm Steve Kathan.
Fink's Car Care is your place for all of your automotive needs. They handle state inspections, brakes, tune-ups, oil changes, transmission service, radiator repair. They have a wide variety of tires, and when it comes to your car, they do it all. Visit their two locations at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth and 2236 South Military Highway in Chesapeake. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573.
Attention gun enthusiasts, your complete store for guns is at 240 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Tom and the staff will assist you with tactical guns, custom AR builds, and they handle service and repair. Battlefield Guns and Ammo has specials, and they buy, sell, trade, consign, and do FFL transfers, and always look out for the military and the police. Log on to BattlefieldGunshop.com and call 410-7720. Open Monday through Saturday, this is your store for guns, ammo, and accessories. Battlefield Guns and Ammo in Chesapeake.
It's now time for Greg's Highlights on Sports Scene, presented by DJBTV.com Marketplace Sponsors page.
And thank you, Ken Johnson. This is one of our regular features, highlights, and, of course, what teased me off. Hope you enjoyed our first guest today, Bill Hillgrove, the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers, also Pitt football and basketball, very relevant in the ACC, of course, taking on teams like Virginia and Virginia Tech, doing very well this year, although they struggled against North Carolina this past Saturday. Of course, this is Sports Scene every Wednesday from 12 to 1 right here on News Talk 1650, your home for CBS News. Go to gjbtv.com to find archive shows. Click on the nice YouTube link. Shop on the Marketplace sponsors. You can see the big red logos, and also support the sponsors on the homepage and also both the Marketplace sponsors pages. Save the date each Wednesday from 12 to 1 for Sports Scene. Save the date for the Newport News Greek Festival, another one of our sponsors, coming up May 29th to June 1st. I was at the Dean Dome last weekend for Pitt, North Carolina. As I said, great basketball environment. Was nice to see McAdoo, who's from this area. Also, I know Devontae's favorite team is Duke. We know that, Devontae. But also great to see Phil Ford, iconic basketball player for Dean Smith. 10 days till March Madness. Can you believe that? And, of course, the final game of the Hoops will be April the 7th. Don't forget, my mother's memorial tennis match will be in April at the Hampton Tennis Center. More information coming on this soon. And congratulations to Old Dominion's football team playing on national TV their first week of the year. Excellent. I promised you a few weeks ago I'd tell you the story before we take our next break and get ready for our next guest, Brian Parsons, about a memorable moment my dad and I had with Woody Hayes, the iconic Ohio State football coach. He's got two sisters that live there. My mom and dad got married in Columbus, Ohio in 1963. Well, for years, from 51 to up until my dad passed away in 03, he always followed Ohio State football. So a random story was in 1986, when I was just a teenager, we were out in Columbus, Ohio, visiting his mother and his sisters as well. And of course, it was a very nice moment. Very nice Saturday, a spring summer day, and it was really, really an interesting afternoon. So he said, you know what? Back then, nobody had their phone number unlisted. Celebrities were easy to get to. Guarded gates, blah, blah, blah. And Woody Hayes had coached Ohio State up until 1978. This was 1986. So we looked up his number in the phone book and said, you know what? Let's ride by his house, my dad said, and look at Woody Hayes' house. I said, no problem. It's right there on the main thoroughfare. I'm sure we'll find it. Next step. Well, how about we do this? How about we go, since it's a nice day, you go by, get a plant. This is my dad talking to me, and we knock at the front door, and you just leave it there, and we just say, we really admire your career. Really, Dad? You want me to go knock at the front door of Woody Hayes? Really? But okay. I mean, 8 years removed. He was up in age in his 70s. I figured maybe he was mellow. So my dad was staying in the car while I knocked at the front door, and nobody answered. After 2 or 3 minutes, an older man came out with a light blue polo shirt, Oxford shirt that was, and answered the door. It was Woody Hayes. He invited my dad and I in the house for 2 hours. Was the best moment my dad and I ever had. Really, we always had great moments, but that was an iconic moment. And if we wouldn't have done it, it would have been no next time, because that was in June of 86. Woody Hayes died in March of 87. So really, that was a story I promised I would tell you, and it was just a great moment. It was kind of bringing back chills just talking about, college football and all that stuff. And you always have family moments. It's not about who wins or loses. It's really about the family and moments you have watching the games or watching the teams. And that triggered my interest in sports with guests and personalities. It's not about the host. It's about the guest. It's about the personality, because people always want to hear great guests as well. And Woody Hayes, really top of the line, excellent football coach at Ohio State University. And all right, we're going to come back with our next guest, Brian Parsons. We'll have What Teased Me Off, and we'll have John Robinson on a little bit later. This is Sports Scene, your home for CBS News up until 1 o'clock.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet.
Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
People in Chesapeake and Hampton Roads have come to expect the finest Italian food at Spaghetti Eddie's. In addition to great lunch and dinner served daily, this fine establishment caters to and can host your party. Call 484-7301 for their Taylor Road location and call 410-5500 for their restaurant in Greenbrier. For more, log on to SpaghettiEddiesPizzaCafe.com.
Finks Car Care, with locations in Chesapeake and Portsmouth, is your dedicated Tire Stars dealer. At Finks, their experienced staff specializes in brakes, steering, suspension, tune-ups, oil changes, and much more. They also handle rebuilt engines and transmissions, and they're your destination for tires, rims, and towing as well. Finks is located at 2236 South Military Highway at 2711 Victory Boulevard. For more information, log on to finkscarcare.com or call 545-3573.
Attention gun enthusiasts, your complete store for guns is at 240 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Tom and the staff will assist you with tactical guns, custom AR builds, and they handle service and repair. Battlefield Guns and Ammo has specials, and they buy, sell, trade, consign, and do FFL transfers, and always look out for the military and the police. Log on to BattlefieldGunshop.com and call 410-7720. Open Monday through Saturday, this is your store for guns, ammo, and accessories. Battlefield Guns and Ammo in Chesapeake.
Look at that. Monster that's under my bed. Get along with the voices inside of my head. You're trying to save me. Stop holding your breath. And you think I'm crazy. Yeah, you think I'm crazy.
I wanted the fame, but not the cover of news.
All right, welcome back to Sports Scene right here on News Talk 1650, your home for CBS News in Hampton Roads. Greg Bickavaris, glad you're with us each Wednesday from 12 to 1. Hope you enjoyed Bill Hillgrove, the iconic voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers, also the Pitt Panthers, who again played Old Dominion this past fall in football, and of course they're in the ACC. And of course, well, they're used to having every game on TV for Old Dominion. They don't have that many games on national television, and congratulations to getting their game against Middle Tennessee in September on national TV. That'll be quite a treat. They've had some games. I mean, ESPN's done some games when they're in 1AA, but not that often. Of course, I'm sure the NC State game will get some type of TV coverage as well. I want to thank our sponsors for 1650 on my show this month: Spaghetti Eddies, Crawl Space Door Systems, Battlefield Guns and Ammo, Fink's Car Care, Silver Eagle Coins and Collectibles, Aunt Annie's Pretzels, really, really good, all over the mall, especially in Greenbrier, and of course Chesapeake Square Mall, and of course my marketplace sponsors that support me at GJBTV.com. It's a pleasure right now to talk to Brian Parsons. We've had him on Sports Scene several times in the past when I've worked at other radio stations. But I'll say this, the Parsons name goes back a long way too, because his brother Tim and I used to do games on WLQM out in Franklin, and Ken Johnson, my producer, who I used to work with at another news talk station in this market, everybody's worked with everybody at least one time or another since the 80s or the 90s, knows his family as well. Brian, my friend, welcome.
Hey, Greg, thanks for having me on. It was nice talking to Ken as well.
Very good, very good. Well, let's talk about your alma mater, Old Dominion, first of all, in basketball. It had been kind of a struggle this year, but, you know, with the staff and the roster Jeff Jones has had, he's done better than most people have expected.
Hello?
Yes. You there? Brian? Let's try to regain connection with Brian right there. Looks like we lost him, Ken.
Hello?
Brian, are you there?
Yeah, Ken, can you hear me, Greg?
Yeah, remember, you're on a cell phone, my friend. We prefer landlines, you know that, but try to do the best you can. But I was saying, Jeff Jones has done very well considering it wasn't his recruiting class.
Jeff Jones, I think, has done a great job. He inherited a team that won 5 games last year, and with Blaine Taylor did not leave much left in the on the bench there for him to work with. So,
right.
All things considered, new conference with this tough travel schedule. I mean, you know, they have a winning record in the conference, and they have a good chance of beating Rice tomorrow night at the Ted Thompson Center. But Louisiana Tech comes in on Saturday, and they're arguably the best team in the league. So I anticipate a split for the next 2 games coming up. But I think he's done a great job, and you can't really judge what he's done until he's had a couple of full recruiting cycles. So, you know, I think fans are quick to judge, but I think the real fans will kind of wait it out and judge him after a couple of years.
Talking to Brian Parsons, this is Sports Scene up until 1 o'clock. Greg Bickavaris, glad you're with us. Brian's from WAVY-TV 10, Fox 43. Of course, you mentioned, but it's you know, Old Dominion's used to playing teams in the past like VCU and George Mason, James Madison. How's it been with these teams? Because you can't really get too fired up about Rice and Louisiana Tech. There's no history there. There is for the women's team with Louisiana Tech, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a little strange. I mean, it was pretty cool to see UTEP come in with Tim Floyd as the coach,
sure.
to coach the Bulls and USC.
Right.
But, you know, with a team like Texas San Antonio coming in, it's not generating the excitement of VCU or Georgia Mason when, you know, maybe students know somebody that's at the school and there's some, you know, good-natured trash talking going on. Mm-hmm. I don't think many people around here have friends that went to Texas San Antonio in college. So, but, I mean, I've always said, though, that you want to build a basketball program into something that where people aren't paying to see the opponent, they're actually paying to see the home team. So, you know, based on that logic, it shouldn't matter who the opponent is. I think winning will cure everything, and I think if Jeff Jones can get the program turned around, then I think the sellout crowds will return to the TED.
Yep, this is Greg Bicaveras talking to Brian Parsons right here on Sports Scene on the radio. Also, tunein.com. Type in WHKT 1650. This will be archived tomorrow. Go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link as well. And, of course, talking to Brian right here about Old Dominion. How about Karen Barefoot's team? Your thoughts about her team?
Well, I think that's a team in transition as well. I think she may need a couple more years to turn it around. They've had a little bit of trouble in Conference USA adjusting to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bobby Wilder, of course, looking forward to 2014 in football. Hard to believe it's already year 6 for their football team. Pretty good recruiting signing day, huh, Brian?
It is a recruiting signing, good recruiting class. They said it was second in Conference USA. We'll see, but I do want to talk about the Friday night game that they have coming up against Middle Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Wilder loves it, right?
Yeah.
It's a logistical nightmare for us. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
On Friday nights, we do the Old Dominion football show on Fox 43, and then we do the Friday Night Flights high school football show on WAVY. So having an Old Dominion football game on a Friday night when most of our resources, all of our resources, are into the high school football, going to have to do a little planning on that one. But it's great national exposure for the school. It's going to be a nationally televised game, first Conference USA home game. The litmus test. We'll see how they can stack up against the full year of Conference USA. I'm very, very, very curious to see how this is going to pan out.
Yeah, and for a person who does a lot of stage managing for the TV networks, I don't understand why. That just shows you that Old Dominion's still evolving, and I'm just going to say this because I work a lot for Fox and CBS and ESPN. They got really hyped up about the national TV. Well, they've been on ESPN before in college football and college basketball before, and regardless, I don't think these two networks have the reach of ESPN, but I guess when you're a startup, 6 years, you'll take any TV exposure you can get, huh, Brian?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're not even sure what network is going to carry the game.
Right.
It's maybe CBS Sports Network, maybe, or one of the Fox Sports cable outlets that a couple of those Cox cable doesn't even carry right now. So it is exposure. It's Bobby Wilder is going to spin it the positive way no matter what.
Right.
I mean, it could be on any channel, and it could be on Lifetime, and he would put a positive spin on it.
You're not kidding, of course, and not to mention, you didn't mention like the helicopter, and also that you guys have to do with Friday night flights, but also rush hour traffic trying to get to high school and Old Dominion games as well.
Yeah, I thought about that too. That's going to be a logistical nightmare because when the game's at 6 o'clock on a Saturday, it's a slow trickle into the venue. People take their time all day. There's really not much traffic getting into the games because people are trickling in all day long for the tailgating. This is going to be a mad rush with rush hour traffic. So, I would say get there early.
Well,
but then again, you've got all the parking with the students that have classes that night. They'll figure it out.
It's better to find a friend there and just walk, I think. That's probably the best bet for anybody to do. We're talking to Brian Parsons right here from Channel 10. Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us up until 1 o'clock. This is Sports Scene, your home for the Admirals and CBS News right here in Hampton Roads. Well, it's big NASCAR season coming up. I know you've been to Daytona before. Your thoughts on the upcoming season? Always two great races in Richmond coming up in the spring and the fall as well.
Yeah, the Daytona 500, the Great American Race. Hard to believe it's Sunday. Cool twist for on Thursday, the qualifying races, the two twin qualifying races, they're actually going to race those at night. Those are under the lights as opposed to during the day. So that'll be an interesting twist. But, the thing about handicapping the Daytona 500, anybody can win that race, including Danica, dare I say.
Sure.
Because it's not necessarily, it's one of those races where it could be the last car standing at the end who avoids the big one. So, Trevor Bayne won that race a couple of years ago. That's his only Cup victory. So, that's one of those, Derek Cope won this a few years ago at the expense of Dale Earnhardt, if you remember that. So it's, that's one of those races where anybody can win it, but it's, it's a great way to kick it off. Not necessarily the best race of the year, but it is exciting and a big payday.
Absolutely. Talking to Brian Parsons, I got to go back to Old Dominion for a second. In the past, they would play their C8 tournament, of course. They didn't play last year, of course, but in Richmond, primarily in years gone by, of course, they were in the Sun Belt. Will you guys be going to cover the Conference USA tournament? Not so close?
Well, it's in El Paso, Texas. So I'm going to say no. I don't think there's an easy way to get to El Paso.
No.
And based on the fact too that the odds are that Old Dominion probably will not win the tournament, I don't see the station spending the money to send a crew to El Paso, Texas. So hopefully, in coming years, the tournament will be a little closer. I'd like to see Old Dominion actually put a bid on the tournament as a host school, I mean, the Ted Costin Center is one of the nicest venues in the conference, and but I don't see them maybe submitting a bid until they think they have a realistic shot at winning the whole thing. So probably maybe in a couple of years.
And they've hosted a lot of NCAA women's tournaments since 2003, including last year as well. It was really a treat. Well, what else is on your mind, Brian? What else do you want to mention today? Brian, go ahead. Your Facebook or Twitter? Ken, looks like we lost Brian there. Sometimes just cell phones. Sometimes cell phones just crash. But anyway, enjoyed talking to Brian Parsons right there from WAVY-TV 10 and Fox 43. Always a pleasure talking about Old Dominion football, basketball, and, of course, the big Daytona 500 coming up this week. All right, Ken, we're going to do What Teased Me Off, take a break, and come back with our business spotlight on News Talk 1650.
What Teased You Off? Presented by GJBTV.com.
Thank you very much, Ken Johnson. All right, what teased me off? Just a few things today, of course. Credit cards. Amazing, all these credit card commercials you hear on the radio, and people are saying, are you in debt? Are you in debt? Well, if you can't afford to buy something, don't put it on a credit card and pay it later. You don't go to a restaurant and say, I'll pay you in 30 days. Or when you go to the gas station, I'll pay you in 2 months. When you owe somebody money, pay them by check or cash if you don't have proper means in your credit card. It's amazing. Is it me, or is that Flow Girl Ken on every freaking commercial in the world?
It's amazing how much money they're making. So if you go after Progressive, I would bet their rates are a little high to pay for all those commercials.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Absolutely. And of course, All-Star games. Of course, they just had the NBA All-Star game this past weekend in basketball. Of course, football had theirs recently as well. One thing is about playing credible football or basketball, but these all-star games just seem like they're offensive showcases, no defense, horrible uniforms. Really, I kind of wonder. I think the best all-star game still is baseball. I think people because you really can't, fake offense or defense in baseball. In football and basketball, you can definitely mail it in. That's what we've seen lately in these all-star games as well. All right, we're going to take a short break, come back with our business spotlight. This is Sports Scene. Greg Bicoveris. For more, go to GJBTV.com. We'll be back after these messages.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet.
Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
People in Chesapeake and Hampton Roads have come to expect the finest Italian food at Spaghetti Eddie's. In addition to great lunch and dinner served daily, this fine establishment caters to and can host your party. Call 484-7301 for their Taylor Road location and call 410-5500 for their restaurant in Greenbrier. For more, log on to SpaghettiEddiesPizzaCafe.com.
Fink's Car Care, with locations in Chesapeake and Portsmouth, is your dedicated Tire Stars dealer. At Fink's, their experienced staff specializes in brakes, steering, suspension, tune-ups, oil changes, and much more. They also handle rebuilt engines and transmissions, and they're your destination for tires, rims, and towing as well. Fink's is located at 2236 South Military Highway at 2711 Victory Boulevard. For more information, log on to finkscarcare.com or call 545-3573.
Attention gun enthusiasts, your complete store for guns is at 240 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Tom and the staff will assist you with tactical guns, custom AR builds, and they handle service and repair. Battlefield Guns and Ammo has specials, and they buy, sell, trade, consign, and do FFL transfers, and always look out for the military and the police. Log on to BattlefieldGunshop.com and call 410-7720. Open Monday through Saturday, this is your store for guns, ammo, and accessories. Battlefield Guns and Ammo in Chesapeake.
Let's get back to Greg Bicoveris and Sports Scene on 1650 WHKT.
And thank you very much, Ken Johnson, live and local on the radio right here, 1650 AM, News Talk 1650. Punch it in your radio, great signal covering all of Hampton Roads and beyond. Also, tunein.com, type in WHKT 1650, Facebook, Twitter, at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV. Find me on Facebook at Greg Bick-Averis as well. Haven't heard a whole lot of people, Ken, talking about the Olympics at all.
Except on the media.
Yeah, it's just like
it's
like they're trying to sell it to you and kind of forcing it down your throats. But it really, I think you know what really happened. We've had so much snow here in January and February. People don't even want to look at snow, regardless of what it is. All right, it's now time for our business spotlight. Hope you enjoyed Bill Hillgrove, the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Brian Parsons from WAVY-TV 10. Now we have John Robinson from Newcastle Coins and Collectibles, one of our brand new sponsors right here, starting March 1st out in Chesapeake. John, welcome.
Hey, welcome, Greg. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Tell us about Newcastle Coins and Collectibles. How long have you been there off of Battlefield Boulevard?
We've been in this location now for a little over 3 years.
Well, talk about your address and all the good stuff.
We're located at 681C North Battlefield Boulevard. We're actually right across from the hospital next to Patient First and Red Wing Shoes in the Woodford Square Shopping Center. We're actually in the Woodford Shops right in front. So we're right off the Battlefield Boulevard.
And you have a lot of great coins and collectibles. Talk about some of your inventory there.
Well, we deal in, of course, all U.S. rare coins, basically your pre-1964 material, that's silver. We also carry a lot of rare coins, key dates, as well as the modern material, modern commemoratives, the gold and silver eagles. We just had the 2014 silver eagles come in. So, yeah, pretty much everything to do with coins, currency, U.S. We don't do a lot with the world coins, but we really focus on the U.S. coins, and we also have a full line of supplies as well for the coin collector.
We'll talk about your website as well.
Okay, on the website we have Newcastle Collectibles, newcastlecollectibles.com, and from there we have direct links right off the front page to our eBay store. We do a lot on eBay, running over 100 items per week on eBay, with a lot of them starting at 99 cents, no reserve. We ship internationally, actually, and also locally. You can come pick up the coins if you win them.
Right off of Battlefield Boulevard, great day to go pick up some coins. Talk about your hours. I know you're open on Tuesday through Saturday, correct?
Yes, Tuesday through Saturday. We're open 10 to 6 Tuesday through Friday and 10 to 3 on Saturdays.
Absolutely, of course. Is it amazing, too, how coins have evolved even since when you first opened up the store there, how things are always changing?
Oh, yes. It's a really volatile market, but, it's one that's been around for the numismatics is second only to photography and collectibles. So there's just a core group of people that are always in and out of the market and buying and selling, and keeps us very active. And people that do find their coins that really, their fathers or grandfathers or grandmothers had collected and they get passed down, they don't really know what to do with it or where to go. So we offer that service, too, by giving free verbal offers for people that really don't know what they have. And we try to help them out determining a value, and we certainly will make them an offer to buy those coins.
Friendly staff, of course, family-owned and operated. Newcastle Coins and Collectibles off of Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, right across from the hospital. And then you see a lot of coin shows on TV as well, huh, John?
Yeah, the shopping networks have all of their coins. We carry pretty much everything that they would, and usually at a lower price because we are local. So if, anyone is a regular consumer of the shopping channels on there, feel free to stop by and give us a try first.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we can usually beat the prices.
And they're local, 609-3633. That's 609-3633 is number. Give us your address one more time, John.
681C North Battlefield Boulevard across from the hospital.
All right, go by and see John Robinson and the great staff. John, all the best, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. All right.
All right.
John Robinson right there of Newcastle Coins and Collectibles, and I'm going to open up the text vault. First person to text me right now at 757-291-4234. That's 291-4234. You will get a Chick-fil-A and 7-Eleven prize pack. Text the number right now, 291-4234. That's 291-4234. You'll get a free Chick-fil-A prize pack, 7-Eleven prize pack, courtesy of GJBTV.com and News Talk 1650 by simply texting 757-291-4234. 888-866-3634. I want to thank our guests right there, Bill Hillgrove, the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pitt Panthers, also Brian Parsons from WAVY-TV 10 and Fox 43, as well as John Robinson from Newcastle Coins and Collectibles, as well. Always a pleasure working with Ken Johnson and Devontae right here on 1650 AM. Ken gets it done 24/7 at this radio station as well. You're home for CBS News and the Admirals as well. We'll be back again next Wednesday right here. Hard to believe it's going to be toward the end of the month already on February 26th next Wednesday. Remember, turn your clocks up an hour starting March the 9th. That's right around the corner. We'll remind you as it gets closer. For Ken Johnson, I'm Greg Bicoveris and our great sponsors and GJBTV.com. We'll talk to you soon.